r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. Cashiers of Reddit, what was the worst time you blew up on a customer? At a pawn shop. The lady paid me with a $20 bill, and I gave her change. She flipped up, because she knew she'd given me a $100 bill. She screamed, cursed, and called me every name in the book, just lost her mind. The whole time she's saying she knew she paid with a $100 bill but she just put one in her wallet earlier. I asked her repeatedly to just check her wallet, then to see if the $100 bill was still there or not. She just kept yelling she didn't need to check, because she knew she'd given it to me. Eventually she checked and all the anger just blew out of her. She was mortified, the $100 bill was there. Bitch. When I worked at Subway in high school, there was this guy in his 30s that came in with his wife almost every day. He was a dick, and talked to you like an idiot. Not because he was in a bad mood either, because he thought it was funny to be an ass to kids working fast food jobs. One day I had enough, and took his sandwich I was in the middle of making, and spiked it into the garbage can, and told him to fuck off. He told me I couldn't talk to customers that way, and I told him, I just did, you retard. He called the owner, and dropped my name. We had name tags, and she told him that, if I blew up on him like that, it was probably deserved and asked him to not return. I for sure thought I was fired. Lucky for me the owner knew exactly what customer she was talking to, and knew me good enough to know it takes a lot to get me irritated, and that I wouldn't do something like that for no reason. I was working at a coffee shop in a busy downtown area. There was a businessman that was notorious for being abusive with our staff. One morning he came in and ordered a coffee and a cranberry scone. We happened to be out of cranberry scones that day, and when I informed him of this, he flew off the handle and started swearing at me. I looked him square in the eye and said, "You're a grown man throwing a temper tantrum over a cranberry scone. Sort your life out." I then calmly turned to the next customer. The next day he apologized and was never a problem again. This woman who used to come into the coffee shop I managed was the real world equivalent of Darlor's Umbridge. She was smug, obnoxious, and delighted in being a giant pain in the ass. She came in daily and had a ridiculously complicated drink order, which she was unnecessarily nitpicky about. She came in one day when our grinder was having issues, which I warned her about. I happened to be on register and not on bar, and so my employee, who was my best employee at the time, made the drink. She took it and left. The next day she came in, and before she even hit the register, she announced very rudely in my general direction, "You're making my drink right." I switched places with the person on bar in order to make it. As her drink was so wildly complicated, it took several minutes to make, throughout which I was told how terrible her drink had been yesterday, how it had ruined her day, how she'd lost faith in the company, etc. I apologized profusely and offered to calm her drink. That was not good enough. She told me she wanted the person who had made her drink before fired. I lost my temper. I more or less told her that I was sorry that her drink was not up to par the day before, but that I had apologized, offered a free beverage, and had actually warned her we were having an equipment issue the day before, which was the likely culprit, and not my employee. She told me I must have woken up on the wrong side of the bed, and I said no, actually you are a giant pain in the ass, your order is obnoxious, and we bend over backwards to accommodate you daily. She had a whole list of things aside from the crazy drink. It had to be served with a certain number of napkins, her sleeve had to be facing a specific way, etc. And if that's how you feel, please take your business elsewhere. Coffee Umbridge tut-tutted her way out of my shop in a huff, and I didn't even care if I got in trouble for telling her off. I didn't. This wasn't me, but I was involved. When I was in high school I worked at a shoe store. The one with that fucking prize wheel from hell. We did this buy one get one half off sale all the time. The way it works is you buy a more expensive pair and you get the cheaper of the two half off, otherwise we'd lose money. So this woman comes in and buys 2 pair of kid shoes. looks at the receipt, and thinks that $50 is too much for her smaller child. So she returns them. She then proceeds to flip out because the difference for the other pair came out of the refund. I called the manager and he came up and she says, "He's a foster kid. He's not worth a $50 pair of shoes. Stop trying to rob me and give me my fucking money." So manager refunded her the entire bill and took both pair of shoes and walked off. We all gave her the silent treatment until she left angrily. I feel bad for both children and her husband who were just standing there quietly. I had a guy come through my register once wanting to put some stuff on his store credit card. He didn't have the card or any ID, so I couldn't ring him through. Technically I could, but against standard operating procedure. He started screaming at me, saying that everyone knew him there and that he was a regular. I was at my job for over a year and never saw that man once in my time working there before this incident. I told him no, I couldn't ring him through without the card or ID, but I could hold his stuff at register until he comes back. He proceeded to get more belligerent and in my face, so I told him in an assertive tone, "You need to leave, you can't be yelling at staff." He leaves, then comes back an hour later to buy his stuff, but still no ID or card. I proceed to tell him I can't bring him in again, so he starts screaming bloody murder, wanting the assistant store manager to come. Stupid assistant store manager has no spine and tells me to ring the guy through, then goes back to the floor or wherever he was before. As soon as the assistant store manager left, I told the customer to leave and that he wasn't welcome at the store anymore. Never saw him again after that. I was a server years ago, and this woman, usually a pretty nice lady, comes in, and apparently we had messed up her salmon a few days prior, so the manager had given her a free meal card, which is good for one single meal. Well, a few days later she comes in with at least 15 people about an hour before we closed, and they all order seafood and steak and wine, and her whole party is awful to me and my friend, who is another server. One guest even threw his plate on the ground, breaking it, and throwing food all over because his steak was overcooked. After all of this, the other server went to take the woman her check, and it was a couple $100, and she whips out the free meal card. The server takes it to the register, comps one of the meals off, and comes back with a new total, and the woman loses it. I have a free meal card. This was one meal for all of us. It should be free. And the server just stiffens up and politely explains that that isn't how it works and stresses that she had to have known that she couldn't have brought 15 people in here and expected free meals for everyone. The woman stands up and pours her red wine all over my friend, and my friend just goes, "What the fuck?" and runs to the back to get the manager. She kept her calm honestly, but the manager flipped and told her to get the hell out and never come back. That was a crazy night. I carded a woman trying to buy cigarettes who got really bitchy when I didn't just give it to her. It was in her car, so she left and came right back. When I held my hand out for it, she tried to fling it at my face and missed. It fell on the floor behind the counter and I refused to pick it up. I called for next customer and started ignoring her. When she asked for it back, I gave her permission to come around the counter to get it. It was petty, but in the moment I wasn't gonna budge. She called the cops and said I stole it. When they came, I explained what happened. He gave her a really annoyed look and she yells, "Make him give it to me." Then looks back to me. He literally ordered me to pick it up. I'd honestly rather lose my job, but I was afraid of what would happen if I refused an officer. So I picked it up and gave it to her. She got the satisfaction of winning and got to leave with a big smug look on her face. Afterwards the officer apologized and said he was basically afraid of upsetting her. I was dangerously close to calling him a pussy. Had a customer come in to do a return on a toilet seat, not to me, but the customer service person. She tells him store policy as we don't do returns on seats out of the plastic. He starts telling her he just took it out to check it and it's not the right shape. She repeats store policy and there's no manager here to override it. It's literally impossible for us to return it. He doesn't like this and starts raising his voice and trying to bully her. She's super shy and quiet, so she kinda just shut down. The other cashier says very loud, "It's dirty, he didn't just take it out, he's a liar." He became incredibly angry. I reached over, hit her light and said, "You're on break, go upstairs." She protested, but I repeated, and she left. He said, "What did that bitch say?" I reply, "Don't worry about it, I'll handle it later. We aren't doing your return." He starts to protest again, but I cut him off. "I don't care. I don't care what you did or what you have to say. We aren't doing your return today. You've got two options, take your toilet seat home and come back tomorrow and talk to a manager, or take your seat and get out of here. Either way you're leaving here with fucking seat." He left. Managers became required to be there on weekends, and someone bought me some M&Ms. The day I quit my job last year. I knew in the morning I was quitting that day, and in the morning, one of the bitchiest customers came in, complaining about a product not working, yet again. This was just a regular occurrence that happened with this particular customer. After about half an hour, I just told her to go and fuck herself, and I can be asked listening to her anymore. I then proceeded to call my boss and tell him I quit. I honestly don't remember this, but my co-workers do, and apparently was a customer yelled at me, "Go to hell." And I yelled back, "I'll see you there." My sis and I say this to each other a lot for funsies, and it's the only reason I believe I may have said this to an irate customer. But one I did remember was a customer brought up a sandwich that apparently looked awful to her. She held it out to me and said, "Would you eat this?" And without missing a beat I said yes. That shocked her into silence for a good few seconds. I was being honest, the sandwich looked fine to me. I only ever lost it on a customer once, when I was working at an office supply store. Customer was one of those self-important money pusher types. Came in during the lunch rush on a day when we were short-handed. He wanted to buy a phone. I normally would have helped him, but I was stuck on register. I did everything I could to help this guy anyway. When I was finally able to focus on him exclusively, he launched into a lecture along the lines of how he specifically was the most important person in the store. And I lost it. I barely remember what I said to guy. I know I tried to walk away first, but he pushed it. I ended up tearing into him so badly he basically ran from the store, and the assistant manager on duty was too stunned to do anything about the incident. I hated that job. Quit not long after. I work in pharmacy. I tell people calmly that we won't be filling controls for them early because no one is willing to lose their license over their Norco or Percocet or Benzo of choice or Adderall. They lose their minds. The best one was when the dude flipped out because his insurance wouldn't pay for an on-scheduled drug early. We told him it would be 2 whole days, and he lost his mind and started screaming at us that we would be the reason that he would die, and that it would be all my fault. I didn't yell at him. I leaned across the counter and told him, in a quiet tone of voice, "No, your non-compliance and rage issues will be what kills you. And I will never ever serve you again. You don't get to scream at me, and you certainly don't get to refer to me the way you have and expect anything from me." He called me a bitch after calling me everything but a child of God. I fucking hate overly dramatic assholes, and I told him, "I may be a bitch, but I'm not your bitch, and you still aren't getting your way. No matter what the pharmacist says, because he is jelly-spinned and passive, you are leaving. No one here, not the techs, not the other customers, and not the other pharmacist, is here to put up with you. Get out before I call management and they call the cops." The pharmacist finally stepped in and told him to leave and that he was no longer welcome. That is the only horrible customer I have ever seen him transfer out. And there are several who are like that he needs to get rid of and won't. A woman wanted to butt in line to to purchase a banana in a busy express accessible queue. I asked her to go take her proper place after budding a customer in a wheelchair, and she said, "Go to hell." I replied, "After you." I don't know how fast food places find workers. People are so rude to them. It blows my mind. It's almost like some people go to fast food places with the mindset that they are going to be assholes. I work at Disney World. One time I had a particularly rude guest, and the end I told them to have a great day, not a magical day. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.